Why, hello. I'm having the weirdest week, you guys. That's how all of these videos are, because every week is the weirdest week, I guess. Yeah, no kidding. I'm gonna collect myself and be right back. Have you noticed how, things just seem to work until they don't? So often you don't realize that a machine is breaking down somewhere on the inside and then it just stops working. I feel like this is true for us, our bodies, and our minds. And that the things that we call coping mechanisms are what we have to learn. We have to learn our tells in order to be able to determine along the way how to keep ourselves from breaking down and how to keep ourselves moving forward in a consistent way and at a consistent pace. This is all well and good, but figuring these coping mechanisms out can be layered with an additional level of complication, given that so often coping mechanisms are very negative to other parts of our well-being. So something that makes me feel joyous or happy or mentally present in the moment might actually be hurting my mind or my body. I'm worried about my cat. I think that he's in pain. There's something with his, the pads of his paws are slowly all becoming swollen. And he's having difficulty walking. And watching it happen is really sad for me. I'm trying to save money right now. I'm not feeling super financially lucrative, but it's getting worse and I think I need to take him to the vet. I just took him a week ago and I thought it was getting better, but it's not. This entire week I've just been feeling like I just don't want to do it. I've been feeling like I can't wait for the day to end, and then I want to take a Benadryl at the end of the day and just force myself to go to sleep. The love of my life is moving. Excuse me. The love of my life is moving to another state on Friday. Or Saturday maybe. And I'm really sad. you know, just because you understand why something can't work doesn't mean it's not happening in your mind. Like, I still keep on reconfiguring in my head all the ways that it could work, you know, in a different universe. When I was younger, what people thought about me affected me a lot more. It still affects me, but it affected me much, much more when I was younger, especially as a young fat woman, when people didn't like me because of my fatness. I remember I worked at this coffee shop at college for a number of years, and one of my coworkers there was probably my best friend at the time. He was honestly kind of mean, and he was definitely racist. I had many conversations with him about how him being racist was an issue, and he was just always like, it's not like I think you're crappy, it's just that I don't want to date people of your race and people of your size. And he would say that openly. But he also wanted to always stay up until 4 a.m. with me, smoking and watching shows and just hanging out, the two of us. Like, we would do it all the time. We were super close. And I felt like I was in love with him. And I was a recent survivor of sexual assault. And I was like trying to contend with that, as well as trying to deal with being in this very like posh, like, I don't know, like coming from small town America and being in a very like rich, wealthy area of Chicagoland with all this like old money that I like didn't even know what old money was before I came to college. And in so many ways, I was so much uglier and less talented and less worthy than the people around me. And that's not just something coming from me, that's the truth in our society. And I think I didn't know that. When I went to college, I didn't know my place in the world, and I was taught that very quickly. I was taught that by experiencing fat phobia within Greek culture. I was taught that and experiencing a lot of race-based and body-based pushback, I guess. I don't know, there was something about me, and there still is, but especially then, because I was also very angry. I was angry that this thing had happened to me, that I didn't feel like I had support. My parents didn't know how to respond to it. I think I told my mom, and her response to me was something around the lines of, well, why did I put myself in that situation? Which we all know is not the right way to respond to these things. She might know that as well at this point. But at the time, I think this was probably a common response. We weren't having the yes means yes conversations at that time. So actually, the multiple instances in my life when I was raped, I think wasn't even considered that. some of them might not have been considered that at the time, and like now would be considered it. So it is, I think, important for adults like me who are in the like millennial, mid-millennial, and up like older millennial age group, and the Gen Xers, and anybody older than me, to get a refresher on what consent means and what consent looks like. I think that's really important. But that's kind of like a tangent. So I was dealing with all these things, like realizing that I wasn't hot shit like I thought I was in high school. I mean, not that I thought I was like hot shit, but like, I don't know, like I found like a little niche with friends kind of in high school, and then I got to college and realized kind of how weird I was and how weird people saw me as. And I didn't know my niche, and I wasn't, somebody who people weren't like drawn to me or attracted to me. I wasn't that smart. Like, I'm not that smart. I think I'm definitely an above average IQ, but I'm not like Ivy League level smart. And I came from a public high school, so I was really struggling in school. There were all of these things, and my family, probably in the base of like the income levels of people who were going to this school, my family would have been considered, I think, low income, even though in the world, they were middle class at the time, I believe, and now they are upper middle class. I'm just like throwing it all out there about my background, I suppose. So, I kind of dove into this like coffee shop world because I couldn't find my place on campus, and I didn't try that hard to like find support services and things like that. I didn't really know how to do that. I didn't know, and I was very angry, and so I went to work at this coffee shop, and I became best friends with this racist asshole. He was openly racist. He was saying his parents are Russian immigrants, and he got it from them, and it was about the way he views the group of Black and brown people and not them as individuals. And he had like this charisma about him that like everybody wanted to be friends with this guy. That was just kind of like the way it is. Like people would, like everyone was in love with him, and they would all, like all the students from the college would like come into the coffee shop just specifically to see him. And I was like no better. Like I like did the same. And for whatever reason, there was something about me that he was compelling for him. And he actually like sat me down and asked me to apply to work to the coffee shop. Like, I don't even know why did he feel, I don't know. Why did everyone around him give him this much control? White man. He was also like one of those white dudes who had like the dreadlocks. Anyway, so he sat me down and he made me feel so special by asking me to apply to work at the coffee shop. He was like, you know what, we're hiring, and I think you would be a good fit. I see you come in here a lot. And I was like, oh my God, like this person wants me to work here? Like what a dream. Which is ridiculous. And so I got the job there because it's a coffee shop. Like it was like a dishwashing job that turned into a serving job. And it was, not hard to get a job there. But he, I guess, had, the ear of the owner to whisper into, and so he helped me get a job at this coffee shop. And then I was like sucked into his world in a lot of ways. We like went to all these, like, this is all so ridiculous, like all these like dubstep and drum and bass shows, and I felt really cool, and I was like smoking a lot of pot and like smoking a lot of cigarettes, and that was just like my jam. Like that was like all I wanted to do all day, and I just wanted to be around him because there was something so infectious about him, and I felt like for some reason he had chosen me. And I was just like obsessed with him. But like we actually were friends. Like we hung out one-on-one together all the time. Like all the time. I went to his parents' house in the suburbs. Like I like met his parents. Like we did all these things together, but he kept on consistently telling me that he was only interested in white European women and thin women, and that I wasn't hitting those bucket areas for him. So anyway, so I basically felt like shit about myself, but I would like also felt like I would like do anything to like get his favor. And I kind of felt this way about my last relationship. It was like this coffee shop dude reborn in a different person or something. Like somebody who is telling me that I'm special. In a way that, like, I don't know, like, in a way that is, like, based on my creativity and my soul and things that I don't think people typically see in me or anyone. Like, I don't think, you know what I mean? Like, this is just not the world that we live in. We just don't live in a world where people see us so deeply, or we feel like they are. And I felt that way about this person, but I also could see all these other ways in which, you know, it just wasn't going to work. And I don't want to speak ill of this person. But it's just a reality for me that I'm dealing with this week. That they are leaving. That's the reality. And everyone else in my life is extremely sick of me talking about this individual. It's not like I took a survey around that and figured that out, but that is my assumption. It probably doesn't even make sense for me to not be over them. You know, I'm 29 and things happen and you're supposed to move on. So, and there are all the ways in which I'm fine, which this is an interesting part of my life that I've entered, I guess. That there are all the ways in which, like I was discussing in the last video around loneliness, like, there are all the ways in which I'm fine. I'm not going to do anything to harm myself. I have enough money to go get a drink at my neighborhood bar if I want to, like, talk to some strangers. I have friends that I can very easily see, and that if I told there was something wrong, they would be there for me. I'm figuring out, as I've been trying to reach out to my family more about my own mental health and my wellness, that my family also wants to be there for me. And I've known for a long time that they've always wanted to be there for me. There are a lot of ways in which I think they can't. And I'm not really going to go into that here. But I think that I was wrong in particular about my dad's ability to be there for me around certain things. And I think I can talk to him. And I have started talking to him about more personal aspects in my life. And that's honestly like a game changer for me. That's honestly like mind-blowing for me, because even though I'm this very open person who I think comes off as being very down to earth, comes off as being somebody you can just talk to, comes off as being somebody who's very understanding and willing to be vulnerable and all these things. There's a lot that my family doesn't know about me and that I don't communicate to my family. It's funny, I was hanging out with a friend yesterday, and he has a half brother that is the same age as my brother, or maybe a year younger, because my brother's 20, and so his half brother's like 19. And he was telling me about how he feels like it's too bad that he has to tell people, you know, when he's stressed out, and that maybe people are getting sick of it. And he was listing off all the people, and one of those people is his brother. And I was like, oh, you tell your brother you're not doing well? And he was like, well, yeah, if he asks. And I just thought that was interesting, because I definitely tell my brother when I'm not doing well, but it's like, it's almost strategic, or it's almost like if like I'm at like the very end of my rope and there's just like no other way. Like if the only way is to be honest about not being okay. Because I just feel like they all have enough. Like everyone already is dealing with enough. And so I'm actually really strategic about the things that I tell people, and I'm realizing that that's probably surprising for everyone, to be honest, because I don't come off that way. It's a little bit surprising to me even. But there are so many things that I hold inside and I don't tell anyone. And this, I don't know what to do with this one, you know? It's like, it's like this invisible weight on me right now. And if I look closely enough, like it's maybe not even there. Like everything in my life is like okay enough. There's something about certain people, though. Like, there's something about certain people who, for whatever reason, the way you are with them, it makes you feel like magic is real. And maybe it's just like chemical, right? Like maybe it's just like lust and desire and whatever else. But there are certain people who I meet who just completely baffle me. Like, completely throw me for a loop. And it feels like this person is the love of my life. But like, this isn't The Notebook. And coffee shop dude felt like the love of my life too. And he was pretty shitty to me. And we didn't even have a romantic, interaction. So, I don't know. Maybe it's something to discuss in therapy, like why fall so hard. And maybe it has to do with people being unattainable. And the romanticism of that, of something that feels like almost attainable or something like that. I don't know. I honestly don't know if knowing the reason would help me. It might not. I want it to stop hurting. I want to be able to, even if it is, okay, that was the love of my life, I don't get to have that again. Even if that is the case, and you know what, honestly, that hurts me inside my heart. But it's also hey, you met the love of your life. Most people don't get to do that, probably ever, right? So there's that, and it's something that I could tell my kids about or whatever. I mean, I think there's a beauty in it too, is what I'm trying to say. I just wish I could figure out how to better grapple with it, I guess. Now that it's over, now that we have to say goodbye, for a long time. Well, that's that. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and thanks for listening to me ramble if you did. Bye now.